Medical doctor. Make one. Well, and that's what I'm telling. Thank you. Well, that's a lot of cooking. No kidding. Men, mostly men. Right. Thank you. You're welcome. How are you? See you very good.
Are you important relatives? No. I mean, everybody's a cousin. But it's just, yeah, they're first cousins. Everybody says, oh, that's my cousin. That's my cousin. That's my cousin. That's my cousin. Rain, you know, cousins. They're right now. Yeah. They're all look at that. You got it. How are you? You got a charge. Yeah. Yeah. So I knew outside of Vegas. I had my chance. What's up, Bill? You doing good? You all right? Yeah. 30 seconds. Come on, Paige. Some of us have another meeting to get to. Yeah, you're right. No, that's yours. That is not mine. I'm sure. Enjoy that. I haven't heard that he wasn't. No, he said he's going way back there.
I talked to him.
Did I say that?
I talked to him at 4:15. There's that.
David?
Okay. All right.
That's really cool. Like 360 or
we all
call.
Yes. All right.
Put it on here.
How y'all doing? Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on July 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the district's office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive in Friendswood, Texas. Call the meeting to order. And we are going to be led by the invocation by Mr. Rob Bailey of South Lake Church. So Rob, you come on up here. And before we have our invocation, he leads in the prayers. I always want to have a minute of silence for what's going on in the state of Texas, up in the Hill Country. This past week, if we just have one whole minute of silence, I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Well, as I was introduced, my name is Pastor Rob Bailey of South Lake Church. I am a Christian pastor, which means I pray in the name of Jesus, but I realize in the great county of Galveston, we have people of different understandings and faiths. So as I pray, I welcome everybody to take a moment just to be in meditation or in prayer in your way. Heavenly Father, as we just gather together right now, we do bring up everybody in Curryville, Comfort, and all Central Texas right now. We lift up all the first responders and everybody who's going through the debris, searching desperately for those that are still missing. Lord, we lift up to the families right now that are grieving and mourning. But Lord, we also give thanks for those who have been reunited today. As we meet today, we are reminded of the work done and needed as we look to the waters of our own county. And as we prepare and manage and take next steps, Lord. I bless for your spirit to be upon this group as we look towards the future of our development and of our county. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Chuck and rise.
Join me in the pledge of the United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Join me as we honor the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Mr. Bailey, if you'd share with us, just anything you have going to church, just social events or anything that you're doing to worship the Lord, we'd love to hear about it.
Sure. I've been a resident now of League City since 2017. My job is to help start a church over in League City. We meet actually at Hometown Heroes Park. And that's been a blessing all these years. And I'm also Lutheran, so I always tell people I'm Catholic light, twice the fun, half the guilt. So have a beer. Last Tuesday, actually, I was at a meeting at Craft 96 where we have some beers. Just, how's life going? Let's talk things through. And I also am blessed to serve as a chaplain for the League City Police Department, as well as being a part of the community. And I do have an 11-foot fisherman kayak that I use on Clear Creek. So I am blessed for the work you guys do, and I'm blessed on this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the Board of Directors report, announcement concerning items of community interest. Mr. Gibson.
My prayers and thoughts go out to the hill country people and to the first responders. So I've searched for casualties before, and it's not a fun job. Some of y'all may have read the June 30th Houston Chronicle. The headline was Shortfall Threatens Flood Projects. Apparently, the Harris County Flood Control is short $1.15 million with 34 of the projects that they have that is funded by bond money. And most of those projects are in the design phase, which unfortunately FM 1959 and the Whitcomb is both in design phase. And right now, the commissioners are trying to decide what is a proper priority on which projects to go forward with and which ones to cancel. So it's out of a basically $5.6 million estimate, being short 20% is pretty catastrophic. On a better note, Harris County Flood Control is having a series of meetings that has to do with getting public input on flooding issues, potential solutions. And I'd recommend everybody go to their website and read the details on that. The nearest public meeting to us is at Pasadena Convention Center on the 22nd of July from 5 to 7. The name of the study that you're trying to do is Safer Study, so that would be a key when you go to internet research. And what they are, Harris County Flood Control is partnering with Corps of Engineers, and they're going to study the input from the public with the intent of finalizing a report and submitting that report to the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works in 2027. And with the hope that congressional authorization will be in 2028 in the Water Resource Development Act. I think this is an ideal opportunity for us to go talk to them about our ideal about pumps and gates and Clear Lake level and dredging Clear Creek, because all those are big dollar items, which basically this study is asking for. So please look at Harris County Flood Control website and get more informed on that. I thought that the second quarter newsletter was very good. Thank you, Paige. Russell, you did a very good article, so thank you. That's all I had.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I'd like to add my condolences, my prayers. It's hard to wrap my head around those grieving families that lost their loved ones, especially the kids. We had somebody close to us that was in that La Junta camp, and he happened to be in a higher building. They got up in the rafters, and they were able to escape and survive. Anyway, just I hate to say this, but it may be a wake-up call. We don't have the mountains like they do, but we certainly have a problem. So look forward to getting the IDRT information. I'd like to be involved in that meeting so that we can reduce this information to a presentation and then take it to the state government, federal government to press our case. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yes.
What happened over this weekend has just been devastating. I can't begin to imagine. My prayers and my thoughts have been going out to these people since we found out about it on Friday. And it's devastating, just devastating. I'm happy to be back. I missed June. So I'm back here for the meeting, and that's it.
Obviously echoing the sentiments that you hear from everyone. My first response when I hear about things like this is anger. And then just the way my personality is, it stays that way because a parent should never outlive their child. And so as parents, as the adults in the room, it is our job to protect people as much as we can. This is a public safety entity. It's not something you cut budgets for. It's not something you skimp on. It's not something you say, maybe it'll work. One of the questions I've gotten, especially as people have seen more flood coverage than they're accustomed to, is what is the flood plan? What is the flood plan? Does it mean there's only going to be one of these every 100 years or one of these every 500 years? We've had 4 or 500-year floods in the last 20 years. We had 3 in 3 years. We've had numerous 100-year floods. So it's difficult when you first say that to someone who's not familiar with it. 100-year flood. We just had one. So how is it happening again? And looking, I had seen this FEMA graphic that you have over there, and I thought it was really one of the better ways to break something down simply. Obviously, in the middle we have our creek. That's the channel, and the floodway is what helps move the flood waters up to including the 100-year event. This one uses the flood fringe, which would be that distance between the floodway and the expanses of the floodplain itself. Obviously, development is restricted in the floodplain. And in the floodway, it's essentially prohibited in almost all cases. When you do venture into those territories, it's irresponsible to develop in the floodplain. It's reprehensible in the floodway. There are questions that we face here that can and will affect people's lives. We get a lot of pushback in all directions, not just people stealing our money from the bank, and not just the headaches that come from doing this. We haven't elevated or enhanced or changed our criteria, largely at all. These are bare minimum standards. The 100-year flood standard, the Atlas 14, is the bare minimum. And it's not even saving anyone. It's just so that that level of development doesn't negatively affect those around it. We haven't even gotten to increase standards. And we face constant, unending pushback on bare minimums. And I think that's insulting. And it should embolden our public safety charge. You see tragedy, and I'm largely staying away from that. I know Rusty's doing a lot of heavy lifting on that. here we are again, watching friends, neighbors die in situations. We can't prevent the disaster, but we can prevent largely, to agree, a lot of the effects. In the coming weeks and months, we'll be doing more videos, as Rusty has done, little topics on Facebook, things on the website. This is that type of thing. I know in this room, it's silly to explain floodplain, but our friends at home and who can watch this on the internet in perpetuity, this kind of base introduction is important. So I just wanted to use that time. Thank you.
That's a lot of good to what you said. Trust me, a lot of truth there. So anyway, Jeff Wilson is a classmate of mine, 1987 Brunswick grad. He perished in the flood, as his wife Amber and their son Shiloh. So Jeff Wilson, 87 FHS. I'll say it again, greatest class to go through Brunswick ever. Scott Menchaca, who I believe is deceased, his daughter perished in the flood. So it hits real close to home in Friendswood. And, you know, I'm 56. And I know, you know, we have varying ages in this room, but there's any of us, any of our kids, anybody could be up on those South or North Fork, Camp Mystic on the South Fork of the Guadalupe before Hunt. Hunt's right there. You know, I've grown up there my whole life. That's a high density drainage area. And if y'all don't know what high density drainage is, shell formations and stuff that occurs in Kentucky, parts of West Virginia, and the Texas Hill Country, pay attention, because high density drainage means when you start getting flood watches, you get your rear packed up and you get to higher ground. You don't start waiting for later stuff to happen. The people who've lived there for a long time, the locals that pass down those stories, the 80 and 90-year-olds, they'll tell you because they've seen it. This is an event that doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every decade, but when it happens, it's deadly. So high density versus low density drainage, there's a big difference. And I recommend that people, you know, get up to speed on that before you go somewhere, and definitely before you send your kids and your family out that way. What I want to talk about, I've been very consistent on for 3.5 years. I don't feel like I'm Monday morning quarterback in any way. I'm pretty well published and spoken in public on the internet. But water is one of the most powerful and potentially destructive forces that nature is capable of causing. Many will say it's the most destructive that Mother Nature throws at us. Floods, tsunamis, hurricanes, surges, loss of life, property damage, and environmental destruction. It happens. Slide page. People before dollars. That's what this really comes down to. And when you're talking people before dollars, it depends how you lead as an elected representative or you lead in the development community. It's about doing the right thing in the area that you're at and putting people before dollars, which I think, you know, every time we have a lesson like this, we learn that, but that's important. Next slide. I've always said it's imperative to keep the stormwater within the banks and the creeks, the rivers. To do that, we have things and studies going on, implementing effective mitigation measures at the lowest possible mean sea level elevation, which is away from homes and businesses, is critical and crucial to preventing devastation, financial impacts, and safeguard our communities. Protecting lives, that's what that does. It protects lives, which is the main goal of the district. We changed our mission statement. So there was no, and listen, we're not against any development. We're not for development. We're for safeguarding lives, effective in mitigating and conveying some water out of this area away from people's homes and businesses. So we protect people first, protect them first. We protect their financial devastation and ruining their family second. Without the people in this county being protected and churning along, there is no economic buzz and growth in this county. The people of this county are our most important asset. Protecting them from harm, their families from harm, and protecting their ability to financially live here so they can go to work after disasters, produce, get the petrochemical area back going for the whole nation when we do face something critical. That's important. People are our greatest asset. Next slide, please. As you all know, flooding causes major damage in addition to loss of life. Harvey, 107 fatalities, 13 million people affected, 150 billion in damages, 25,000 jobs lost. And if y'all don't think that it can't happen again, you're thinking wrong. And I think the fatalities will be much worse if we don't get it together. Where we live, our cross to bear. Y'all can just look at the slide right there. But I will say, everybody has their cross to bear. In California, up in the hills, up to Northern California and Santa Rosa, where I go many, many times for aviation stuff, fire down in LA. Y'all seen what happened this past summer, fire up there, Tornado Alley through the mid part of the country. And now it's shifted kind of southeast lately. But when you mitigate for that, when you mitigate for extreme drought out in Arizona and the water that have the concerns they have, or extreme cold up in the mountains, up in Montana or in Colorado, you have a cross the bear in your area. Flash flooding in the hill country. But coastal Galveston, we are the #1 risk for human and financial toll of a coastal storm. We're #1 on NOAA's list of the weather's list of what is the #1 target, the most financial devastation that could happen. Because of the petrochemical industry and how many people we have here. We're the 8th largest economy in the world in this area right here in the greater Houston area. The path forward. The path forward, y'all seen the push that we're making with IDRT. We're not doing anything that's not common sense based. We want to get the water to flow and to convey at the lowest mean sea level and have it lay and go where it's supposed to go, which is in the creeks and the waterways, the tributaries, the ditches, and at the lowest mean sea level possible. The path forward is much different than digging holes in the ground. It's much different than small mitigation projects. We need to be able to walk and chew gum, as the article says in the latest newsletter. We need to be able to do both. Mitigate short term, keep our creeks and waterways clean, Randy. Make sure the district and all parts of Galveston County are operating at peak efficiency for what we have. And then we need to majorly improve on that in the 21st century in this county, which is so great. Our day is coming again. And just ask yourself this. We just had a bond election here. We had some bonds being pushed through. $186 million worth of bonds were being pushed through in Galveston County on kind of an off election. Pushed through very quickly, a lot of mailers, a lot of information. 20%, 36 million of the proposed $186 million was on flooding and drainage. Okay, 20%. So if you just dropped in here from outer space, you must think that flooding and drainage is not a big concern in Galveston County. We must have that licked, right? 20%, 36 million, 20 million basically going to one area. Communication with Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District, non-existent. Asking about projects, major stuff that we can do, ideas we have. IDRT, very well documented, funded. It's out there. We're not hiding it. We're very transparent. Not talked about. It's unacceptable. We're in Galveston County, Texas, on the coast. We want to be the best shining example of a coastal community on the Gulf. We're not going to get it done that way. Next. Again, I wanted to come back to this because it's the most danger in the whole world. But where we live, it's really dangerous. So I've said enough. I have 2 editorials. I'm not going to pin the next one or the next one after that. I've had 2 editorials in the Floodgate Flyer. The staff has done a wonderful job here. The difference in the district in this past year is staggering. The people that are employed here are incredibly talented, and they're just starting to put it together. It's a team. It's a cohesive team. We're the Astros in 2015. We're getting there. And I know they missed the playoffs in 16. We don't want to have that low, but we're in 17, they won it all and they were really good and really talented, to the point where some people said they don't know how good they really are. One particular picture we had that's gone now, but I couldn't be more proud of Paige of Scott, our district engineer, of Randy, of Melissa, of Samantha, and of the board. The board's been pretty great. And I'm super proud of this place, but I'll be more proud when we get something done. 15 years, there's been a lot of people around here in the county, and we face the same level of paralysis, and we sit the same spot that we probably sat 15 years ago when we changed some gears and had some stuff happen. And this paralyzation goes back for decades and decades. And I just wonder when people are really going to have enough and do something big. And that's going to take county support down the line to the commissioners, people support in the county, driving it through our state representatives, driving it through our federal representation, and then driving it through the core to finally get something happen. That $186 million, it should have been all for flood and drainage mitigation in Galveston County, every dollar of it. And I think we would have got something done big. So anyway, the people have the power. Never forget, the people have the power to control the direction of this county, of this district, of the cities you live in. We are just the conduits of the people. We need to listen and then legislate. So anyway, thank y'all for listening to that. And once again, any of us, any of our kids could have been in that situation.
I proposed a week ago, right on that river.
So it's a sad one day deal, and it's a devastating deal, but you prepare when it's quiet. You don't be reactionary.
When football games on the practice.
Just a moment.
All right.
I forgot one important thing. This safer study I talked about includes the Clear Creek watershed, which is our entire district. So it's not wasted to get involved with that at all.
No, it's not wasted at all. Citizens' comments. We're here, citizens' comments. I ask you to restrict it to 5 minutes or less. We have sign-up sheets in the back. It's not too late to grab one if you want to speak. So Michael Ross.
Thank you, board. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I don't get this at my own city council meetings. I can only talk about a few select items, and usually they're important, but sometimes you don't get to speak on subjects like this as eloquently or timely as you'd like. So you hit on a lot of the subjects I wanted to speak on, so I don't have to go there. But one of the things I think you continue to press forward on is the need to press this agenda further up the political chain. It starts locally, but it needs to continue to move forward in the county and the state. You and I were sitting at a nice meeting amongst a lot of our peers, and the comment was made, well, we can't get anything really big done until there's another disaster. And that type of mentality has to go away as a country. Y'all were just talking about it. Planning ahead while it's quiet, while there's not an emergency going on, is a much more effective means of implementation. So when you think about how currently we have science that we're basing our plans and how we do our mitigation on, that's yesterday's news in a lot of ways. We still have better modeling and better thought processes that we need to go into this. I'm still an advocate of thinking that we need to do, and I think Noah could help us with that, because Atlas 14 was basically that same type of study. We have microclimates at the end of the day. Rain tends to fall in certain locations more intensely than other locations due to ground situations, like the hills in the hill country. It'll drop that rain out. Here, you can go look at a lot of the flood data. There's certain areas in the coastal area that just get more rain, and we need to use those type of analogies to develop our floodplain policies, not just some, hey, this is where the water's been. And I know they use some of the modeling, but the modeling is inefficient at best. And so I want us to continue to press on the federal government to continue to develop more better solutions for our community. Because you mentioned it about the 8th largest economy. That doesn't get the United States government's attention because this happens every time we have a big flood or hurricane in Galveston County. We lose residents. We go backwards, or the growth that they're so proud of stops. You know, our economic engine stops for a while and they have to recover. Why don't we just solve the problem on the front end, keep the flooding from happening? You got 56,000 houses in the 100-year floodplain. You know, that floodplain is going to continue to move, right? That 100-year floodplain has evolved since 2009 and it's continued to move basically up into the land. So that's a moving target. It's not a real fixed and number. So let's not keep using that as our criteria. Let's start coming up with some real world solutions on getting the water off of us, getting it out into the bay. That's a volume that can, an area that can take an almost unlimited volume if we can get it to it faster. So that's what I had. I got to go on to another meeting. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take care. Don Johnson.
Go for it. Thank you very much.
There's been a lot that's happened in the past month. And y'all have touched on some of it. Appreciating what you had to say. We need to take note what's happened over to the Harris County Flood Control District. They went before their county commissioners, and yes, there was a big upset there. A bomb went off. There was a $1 billion shortage on the projects that they had on the books. And I really felt kind of sorry for them because if you go back through the bond that was issued, the bond was issued with an 8-year time frame on it. And over 8 years, what is inflation, cost gonna do to something like that? It's not gonna stay the same. I'm sure it was, all those were costing at the time as to what they would cost, but 8 years later, it's a different cost. And they're trying to react to that and put together a statement for the Harris County Commissioners. And Harris County Commissioners fortunately said they're not ready for leadership change because I think Harris County Flood Control District does have some good leaders in place right now, down at their second level. Sometimes I don't like what I'm being told, but I trust them. I trust that I'm hearing an honest story from them. And I think that's important. So, and we need to figure out, what we can do because they own the other side of the creek. We own half the creek. They own the other half of the creek. So we've got to work together with them. They are the big dog. And, if anybody has money, they'll have money much more so than we will. So that's going to be an interesting project. And kind of like was said with the Dixie Farm Road detention basin project, I think that's an important project. There's the old story and fuss back and forth between the people that believe in detention and people that don't believe in detention. Well, I was always the conveyance advocate. I wanted to do conveyance all the way back to the original Clear Creek project, but I never could make that happen. Well, what I see happening nowadays is like the Mud Gully project, if y'all are familiar with that. Mud Gully, they came in, they widened Mud Gully, and they threw all the creek was there. They brought it around, and that goes into the top of the big oxbow in Timber Creek Golf Course. So that's conveyance that's coming into Friendswood. And when I asked about that, they said, well, we've mitigated the extra water we're sending down with the South Belt detention. And if you look at it, the big holes they dug over there, they're holding a lot of water there. I don't know that I've seen that hydraulic report, but that's the way the game's played. If you want to do conveyance, you've got to be able to prove that you're not sending more water downstream than you were doing before in a 100-year flood. And there's a statute about that out there. I mean, it's in one of those statutes that go through, and I don't like it probably any more than anybody else. I would rather just send the water down and get it into somehow Galveston Bay, but we don't necessarily get that kind of response from League City and Webster and all the Clear Lake communities. They don't want more water. So that's something we have to be. Another thing I'm just gonna mention real quick, and then I'm gonna sit down, is the federal government, I understand, is going to replenish some of the state funds that have been spent on border security, building the fence and all that, somewhere around the neighborhood of $13 billion. They're looking at in the big beautiful bill, eventually coming down to the state conference. Well, we need to get in a position to where maybe we can catch some of that. We've got all sorts of projects that need to be done. And if the state's gonna have extra funding, we need to figure out how that's gonna happen. And I don't know enough about that yet really to tell you how that's gonna happen, but I do know that we've got more than enough projects that could use some of that funding and make things better. Anyway, I don't want to go too far. If you've got any questions, always feel free to ask me or give me a call. I know most of you, so I'm going to be out there trying to do what I can, funnel funds our way and to look at projects that we can get involved in that'll help us. It's a difficult nut to crack when you're talking about trying to lower the flood level in Friendswood. Thank you all.
Take it on.
Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Joseph Whittington, 310 Shady Creek. Whittington, right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And sir, before you begin, I do realize that you're also item 7A. So if it's about item 7A, you're also free to speak during that time.
Okay, well, hit on some other issues too then. I was just up in Center Point not too long ago, which is in Kerrville County. And I just learned about it. The year I was born, 1987, long time ago. I feel old. They had a major flood there and same thing kind of happened. But nothing was actually done from it due to money, like the alarm system or they have a 27-foot BFE base flood elevation in that area. Well, the only reason I know is because I was looking into purchasing property over there. But due to the levels and sewer and all that, it's probably just it'd be impossible to do anything with properties. But point is we probably shouldn't have to wait till our major event happens again, the next RV or whatever, to implement some type of fixes that could help possibly save lives, because when the hurricanes come and electric goes out, cellular is not working. So there's no reason why we couldn't put some type of alarm system on our people that are living on creeks, even if it's activated on a certain level of water, just to let them people know that, hey, you're on the creek and it's rising at a certain level where you need to get out, because not everybody's glued to their TV, especially at midnight when all this stuff went down. Obviously, the detention ponds all along the creek could help, but I don't know what's the holdup, money or dealing with the Corps for getting everything going, but I feel like that's a small thing, especially when you'll have that easement along the creek. Make that small little adjustments or little improvements to at least save lives, because people are going to build in flood zones regardless of where you are. I was just in Galveston the other day, they're building regardless of how dangerous it is. I know everybody understands the risk behind it, and that's, I guess, why the insurance premiums are going up. But I think as a drainage district and county should also step in to try to help people get into safety when the bad things do happen. So I just wanted to hit on that, because I'll talk again about my other stuff when that comes around. So, yep. All my questions are gonna brief me.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
All righty, discussions and action items. A, approve or deny a variance request to amend or waive the right of requirements Property owner at 310 Shady Creek built a house in 2023 after purchasing regional detention through attachment 4 process. Despite regulations requiring an easement due to the property being along Clear Creek, the district did not assert the regulation, nor is there memorialized history of the right being waived or a variance being approved. The property owner comes now desiring to place a pool on the property between the structure and the bank of the creek. The regulations and the criteria manual requiring right-of-way dedication, which would effectively encompass any space within a pool, could be installed. The property owner requests the easement requirement to be waived or varied such that he may construct the improvements. There a motion to discuss?
Motion discussed.
Second.
Scott, what do you, the one of the board member want to start? Scott, do you want to talk about this first? Popular.
Sure. So the city of Friendswood, as the floodplain administrator, has approved a drainage impact analysis no rise certification for the structure back in 2023. It was modified in October of last year, and the pool was put in place and noted as such, and shows no rise in the 100-year water surface elevation. I have concerns about it being that close to the bank. I think the site plan shows like 6.6 feet from the edge of the bank. I've asked for an actually site plan drawn off a current survey so we could make sure that the bank isn't any closer than what the sketch shows. I have concerns about the pool potentially popping up during a flood event and going down the creek, but it's neither here nor there. It's the house is permitted, and he's applying for attachment 4 to build the pool. Again, the requirements are 175 foot from the center line of the creek, which would encompass his entire property if the district acquired it. And that's the gist of the site here.
Jason?
I'll start. All right. So using floodplain, floodway, like we were discussing earlier, how much of the home exists within the floodplain? Just using
Horizontally, I believe, 100% sure, but I believe all of it is. Obviously, it's elevated above the base flood elevation on pier beam, similar to a beach house would be, right?
So then the pool itself would exist within the floodway.
I'm pretty sure that's a true statement.
Okay. Rusty, I was supposed to have visual aid. Can I hold your hat for just a minute? Sure. It's hard to say this.
Don't bend it. Don't bend it.
So imagine this is 600 to 1,000 square feet. The bank sloughs off. This 600 to 1,000 square foot object careens down the creek. It ultimately lodges somewhere. And then what do we have? So what I worry about is the exact same thing you mentioned. And I know that on our end, if passed, the language as written holds us home. But going back to the public safety aspect that we talked about, it seems, and obviously direct conflict to, looking at it and thinking about it. I drove by the property and I understand the want to develop your property. I think early on, what would have been best was for the city and the district to work together to buy out the lot, make him whole. And then this problem would have never arisen. But we don't even have any record of discussion. I wanted to make those things. We're all on the same page. What we see, what we worry about, and what we think. Ultimately, I'm just one, but that's my concern. Looking at it before we've ever met or heard from the homeowner. So when you drive over there, I think on the June 12th heavy rain event, from his structure just down to where it curves back up to the street was underwater. That wasn't a big rain event. Of course, if you're on 528 that day, it looked like a big rain event. Ultimately, it wasn't. So if there's already water there for that little rain, large flooding events could have that 600 to 1,000 square foot meaning done. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, you know, we took this thing over, I said it would take a year to find out about all the screw ups. It looks like it's gonna take a little longer. But I guess my concern is, suppose that happens, and then the pool goes into the creek. Thought about that? Not a great spot for a pool. Are you willing to pick up the cost of clearing it out of the way? You talked to an engineer about this situation?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, so we'll get you up here in a second.
Okay.
I know, we'll get you up here in a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, we get a bad rap for not giving variances. And I guess, kind of tired of being the bad guy. I understand you want to develop your property. I think you've kind of fallen into a trap here. I think very often the city of Friendswood, alligator mouth, writes checks that their cottontail ass can't cash. And I think this is one of those situations. So, and I would be willing to consider it if we had some kind of security that we clean up the mess if it happens. How it affects your neighbors, you know, I don't know. That's something I think we have to look at. But
Jim?
We've been very reluctant to approve variances, trying to tighten up our criteria. I don't see a reason to deviate from that.
I know all too well what a lot of rain can do to a pool. My parents were building one way back when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. And it raised the pool. The rain came and the pool was raised. And we ended up having an elevated pool, in-ground elevated pool, at a hill around it. Because otherwise they were gonna have to dig the entire thing out and start over. So the concern of that it could pop out of the ground and float down the creek is not something I'm excited to think about.
Joseph, you want to speak?
Yeah.
Come on up. Give us some history on this thing, how this went down, how the house went up, and how we got to this point.
Probably like 2 years to get this thing going. City, it's a lot of red tape, hoops to jump through, engineers to pay. And before we even got to do anything, I included that pool on there because of the process it was taking. For some reason, I was speaking to the old Joseph Anderson, and he went, you know, he told me he was talking to the board about everything to get approval. And so I don't know how it's not recorded anywhere, but I handled the build mainly myself. You know, instead of hiring a builder,
You're talking about the house.
managed all the construction of it. So I know all too well about the levels of the flooding in that area, and it seems like, you know, I know y'all have a certain area y'all are in watch of the 175 feet from the creek, but I think it has to do with a lot of the people that are building outside of your area that are helping flooding the creek, because the levels to me have gotten higher on the small build rain he mentioned earlier, which has never seen it that high. And the city engineers for Friendswood had some concerns about it floating up to, which is why the pool builder, prior to them even having the issue, suggested putting 10-foot plus size concrete beams to hold the pool in to prevent rising due to hydrostatic pressure. So that was definitely thought of and approved by the Friendswood engineer. I'd be more concerned about, I'm trying to get rid of a 40-foot RV if anybody needs one. That floating down the creek and getting stuck, because it is in a garage right now. So It's been a long process and I don't know how it seemed like I just got stuck in this weird time loop or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing it all over again. And hopefully, like I said, with the engineering, putting those extra beams to hold it down, that might ease some of your concerns. And I personally help us. I know I don't have to do this, but to keep, y'all have all these signs. I don't know if they're yours or the cities, but danger, alligators and snakes in the area. I help keep the area cut because, I don't think you'll have the manpower to cut it every week or because it grows like 6 foot in less than a month. So I do assist the drainage district of no charge for maintaining that area. And I wish there was more I could do, but I don't have a skid steer really available. So y'all have any questions about the concerns or?
I hate the position you're in. I understand. It's, I don't like saying no. Okay. But we support up to the people that voted for us and look after what I propose maybe we have our engineer talk to your engineer about how effective that would be.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to take care of the damage if it goes down the creek?
I mean, I'm sure I'm have to get it insured, so like some of that money, but if it's flying out, there's no reason to get another one.
Can we take a moment and maybe have Paige review the waiver and release for the board?
Have you finished everything you have to say?
I mean, maybe in conjunction, yes.
Yeah, I mean, about that, that's not my only concern about that waiver and release was the man-made text y'all put in there. Because I've been told that you're wanting to cut back the properties 25 feet or so on the sides of me. Because you'll have that easement, which would probably cause all the property to go into the creek over time.
Well, so for context, your property is over here up in Bay Creek.
Right.
We own the parcel to the left, to the right, and then the city and us jointly own essentially all of these. There's one or two structures that are still there, but this is problematic area to be developing, and this is the Deep Woods Street. And if the public knows anything about this area, it's a heavily flooded area that has been bought out for a particular reason. I can't give the general public legal advice, but I can give this organization legal advice. And as much as it can protect us by drafting releases and agreements for liability, I can't stop lawsuits. And I can't stop lawsuits that come in if somebody gets injured or property damage from something that falls into the creek that we've approved. So I have grave reservations about building 6 feet from the bank because, gosh, we spend 83% of our tax money, funds, public money every single year on maintenance and operations and countless bank repairs, 20 feet, 30 feet deep, 30 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards wide, fall into the creek every year based on nature. And we're constantly playing whack-a-mole. And we're utilizing data-driven technology, and we're looking into drone software and studies that we can accurately depict what areas that we need greater help on. But when it comes to permitting and allowing to give up an easement on our largest waterway from Fort Bend, Brazoria County, Harris County, down to Galveston County, that conveys how many cubic feet per second of water in a storm, and allowing construction mere feet from it, shorter than our engineer if he laid on the bank of it and touched it. It flabbergasts me a little bit, but I am not one of the people who have to sit up here and answer to the public. I answer to them and answer to the public as well, but I don't have to make that decision tonight. And I'm kind of glad for it because I think I know how I'd vote my heart. What I can recommend is that if the board is leaning towards a variance, that they vary a matter of feet. They don't waive it entirely, and if they did, that they would recommend a tight release and of liability as to what happens when it does go into the creek, and maybe even a bond of performance for what happens if we have to remove it. Spend, an enormous amount of manpower and machinery to break up concrete and pull it out and just haul it and dispose of it. But that's up to the board.
It's actually at least 10+ feet away from it. And I think due to the no rise that's been in the engineering hydrology report, that should count for something, because then nobody would be building anywhere in that area if they didn't get that, because that is the city's way to get out of liability by having the engineer sign off that it's not going to flood anybody else's property. So I feel like I already did the heavy lifting to get the liability off of you and the city. I mean, anything can fall in the creek, and like you said, in Kirk County, they have tons of people's houses that get out. I mean, they're not paying for that, but they're paying the property taxes. So hopefully y'all can do. I mean, I don't feel like especially with science behind me, that I'm not going to affect this flooding issue. Because my property is so low, it's already having issues at me. So hopefully y'all can see past the concerns and let me take the risk with that's the thing about this whole thing about safety. There has to be a balance of freedom, especially in Texas. Freedom and risk and safety. I know the risk behind it. And the more people that actually probably live on the creek, they probably can help more people out if they have a boat or something, if something flood does go down. And I think taking people freedom away to do as they see please with their property is just not that American, but that's my point of view.
Thank you. Hey, Hill, could we talk to you about this?
Yes.
Okay. Come on up here. Thank you, Joseph. Oh, and you mind, if you need to come back up.
All right, thank you.
Hey, how did this through the house get built within not having 175 feet, right? And how on this property did that go down? Do you have any recollection on that?
Well, I'll back up and give you a little bit of history. And first of all, I'd like to address a question that was asked by Jason. Why did we not make an effort to buy out this property? There was an effort at the time, but the money being asked for that property was, in Joseph's words, obscene. He never told me what that exact dollar figure was.
Which Joseph?
Andrew. Yeah. Joseph Anderson.
I meant to use the word imminent.
Yeah. So there was some conversation going on back and forth on the possibility of the drainage district buying out that property at the time, and it was determined that for the asking price, what probably wasn't going to happen, and it was done. The conversation was held well between us because we knew full and well that we had buyout properties on either side across the street and all the way down that creek right there, and so the general thought process at the time was, well, we can take all this property and we can bench all this property starting at the creek or at the bridge. So obviously, if it's not all public property, that's not going to happen. As far as how it got to the city, through the city, I can tell you that every box was checked as far as the H&H analysis.
Yeah, I personally
is
did the H&H review, and it was sent back multiple times until there was absolutely no impact from
There's
the,
probably, yeah, we, put it through the ringer, on our end. And I would guess probably Samantha, maybe 12 revisions to that.
it was at least 5 or 6. I
Yeah.
know that. I mean, it was, that's not normal. It's
Is this
usually
for the
like one
house?
revision.
The house alone?
Yeah, just the
Or-
house alone was like 5 or 6.
So every box was checked, and they rose and met the challenge every time that anything new popped up. So once everything was checked, and that's when the building permit was issued.
So on the pool, we're not here to argue you're the floodplain manager, and of course, you're the structural people of the pool. Are you satisfied that the pool is going to stay in place? I mean, as a city, this isn't our job. Are you satisfied? I'm just curious as a citizen.
Well, I'm as a citizen of Harris County, living on the other side of the creek nearby, that I'm curious about that myself. But that was never a question that came up during the course of our review. What exactly would be done? So y'all are asking a question that hadn't been asked before. The thing about the piers, that was in relation to the depth of the piers of the decking. The city expressed concern with how the piers would be in relation to the retaining wall. So that was never something that had been addressed.
Was the pool on the original drawings?
No.
So was it or was it not?
I'll speak to that if you don't mind.
Yes.
I think, if memory serves me correctly, it was on the original tactical foresight plan. So we got the direction to approve it, we included it, and then it was requested to be removed. And we put the note on there specifically that it did not include the pool. The H&H analysis, assumed the original one didn't include the pool because there was a revision done last October. That's the one that we received finally. It was a revision to include the pool. So,
Did the H&H include, does it
the
include?
revised one.
The most recent revision does.
And there was no impact.
Right.
I mean, the way I felt about this is this cap is way out of the chute, way down the road. The city's obviously, and Samantha, you were over there at the time, but was obviously involved in reviewing the H&H. Scott just kind of confirmed that the new H&H did cover the impact, and there is not an impact. This is maybe not be popular, y'all, but as far as I'm concerned, and I'm as conservative as anybody on this, more than anybody here, probably. If there's not an impact on water surface elevation rise, there's not, and they're going back down the street, down the stream, down the creek, I think it's on the city to structurally look at the pool and decide if it's going to come out of the ground and be an impediment in the creek. I'm not a structural engineer. Scott, you're like a structural engineer. And and that's why I'm kind of asking you, as long as y'all are satisfied as a city, this is out of our area, that pool's going to stay in the ground. But what I am concerned about legally, I'll make sure that you and our outside counsel understand that there is no way the district is held accountable, because we're only reviewing if there's an impact in flooding and water. And I'm saying there probably is not. So I want to make sure that that's our scope. Our scope stops there. Our scope doesn't stop if the pool pops out of the ground. We're not authorizing the construction of the pool. We're looking at water surface elevation and impact of flooding and drainage in this area. That's what we're looking at. We're not structural engineers. We're not assigned to look at the structural interior of the pool. I think that's on the city. And if I was a city, I'd be concerned about that. What you said kind of concerns me a little bit, that y'all have never been asked about the structural integrity of the pool as it relations to the bank, and if it can pop out and get in the creek. That seems like the first question that would be asked. How has that not been addressed?
That would have to be a question for the building official.
Who, Brian?
The engineering department merely looked at the H&H analysis.
I can't guarantee, even with the release of liability, that we would not at some point in time get sued for or incur damages or incur costs and expenses for either repairing that bank or removing objects from the bank, or if that object were to injure other persons or property as it aligns to the bank.
But Paige, we're not the city. We're not approving the full, look at the water source, so it changed. So, like, I mean, once again, do I think this house should have been built right there? Do I think the pool should have been? I'm not saying here nor there, but here we have Scott saying the H&H analysis, the latest one, is Samantha saying the two did encompass the pool, and there's not any. I'm worried about killing people with water, and that's not what we're going to do. You're saying that somebody can be killed by a flying pool.
Sure.
Okay, that's not in our purview of deciding, but I think it is in the city's purview to decide if they're going to permit something that's going to be a impediment or a hazard, whether it flies off in the road, the creek, or wherever. Now, maybe there's some kind of water law I don't know about that says, hey, and I want to see it, that the water board, the water code allows us to say if we think there's an imminent danger to a structure that is going to pop out of the ground, which I don't think the water code probably has that. It's not inside the creek. That, I mean, we can't account for everything that could happen. We'd be here all night and every day.
No, I don't, I agree with you, but the matter in front of you tonight is about the variance for the right of way requirement. Whether you've received enough proof, enough to meet the burden for a variance, that you are giving up that right to have an easement there.
So the question, the criteria has been the concern, does it fall under our purview?
I don't think so, but I'm not
Or
aware.
is that a sufficient summation of what you're saying?
Criteria has not been met because
Well, the water impact.
Correct.
That has been, I know our, the easement
Right.
thing is so far gone.
Sure.
His house is in the easement.
In the entire.
yeah, it would encompass the whole lot.
It's
right?
already,
Go to the center line.
the calf's already out of the chute, way out of the chute.
So, and when
It's already
you
down.
had stated that boxes would check criteria, that aspect of our criteria is not a city criteria. So it wasn't considered.
The
The easement
district
matter.
easement?
Yeah.
No, we just looked at the engineering department just looked at the hydrology and hydraulics of the structure. And there's no impact. Well, we reviewed it in depth because we were very concerned. There's just not any impact.
So in future. So then that's the legal question. Your understanding, obviously, that's been met. The concern we have doesn't fall under our purview. Before we move on the issue at hand, can we not punt and wait for the city to have a formal statement about what you're asking, Lucy?
Are you talking about the structure?
Yeah.
And the integrity?
Well, yeah. I mean, is that, I'm not trying to be unreasonable. I'm just saying if that concern is out of our purview and it isn't yours, we would like that spelled out before or I would want to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't want to go against council's recommendation.
Would that satisfy?
I'm kind of leaning toward giving him a variance. But it's going to be your problem, Joseph. And I would like to see the city take a look at the design before they issue a permit.
Well, they have issued the permit.
They have already issued.
Well, no, not yet. Just waiting on the attached report to be processed.
They are, okay.
That's what you said.
Variance.
You can't, our focus has got to be, our narrow scope. It can't be, like you said, what could happen.
I don't think what you said is unreasonable, Jason. And Mr. Whittington, I think you should be patient on that. You can say something else to counteract what Jason just said, but I don't think that's an unreasonable request for the board to kick it 1 month and just to make sure the city doesn't have any structural, just get back to us, Hill, and let us know that the structural integrity of the pool And what is going to be permitted, if the truly are just waiting for the attachment 4 process and this to go down, as long as you are satisfied with that, I don't have a problem with it increasing. You already know how I feel, the water surface elevation will be an impact on flooding and drainage. I don't think that's our concern. If y'all just want to wait, we can have a vote for the variance, or you can make a motion and we can wait 1 month. If you're going to be cool with that, if you're going to raise hell, you can just risk the vote and see what happens. But I don't think that's unreasonable. And I think honestly, it would be to your advantage, especially if the city says, yes, we're very comfortable with the pool staying in the ground. And I think then if you're willing to sign the waiver language that we'll come up with, and we'll be more than happy to discuss that with you, that we can work together and get this accomplished. And I think we can get, because I'm leaning towards, there's no water impact and you're not flooding anybody. So I'm leaning towards letting it go since you're already way down the road on this. But I do think we should tidy up some of these details. And I think it would be to our benefit to both do that. Does that sound okay to you?
The only thing I just to say is,
Come on up. Go on.
Would you like to switch?
Come on. So thank you. Hey, Hill, thanks for.
Thank you, Hill.
I know that wasn't, I didn't want to put you on the spot, Hill, but thank you for doing that.
okay, I just wanted to clear up a few things. The original H&H did have the pool. It was just put on the left side.
And Scott,
It was moved to the right side on the revision because there's an oak tree on the left side. And it did.
okay, I'm good with that. You got the road.
That's one issue that I just wanted to get cleared up. And then I don't know if Hill was out of the office, but I can't recall the other guy's name that worked with you. Chase was the engineer from the city that I spoke to specifically about the piers to hold it down. And that's how we got their blessing. But before that, there was that concern for the pool floating away due to hydrostatic pressure. So, and then the last thing is I prefer we not wait a month. I was still trying to wait for get my pool for my daughter's birthday.
You have that in writing from the city?
No, that's all verbal. A lot of things, everything with Joseph was verbal. So,
I still think what I'm proposing is good.
yeah.
And I promise you, we'll act on it next meeting. We won't make you wait again. And I'm like David. I think David's been this way. I've told you this way, but I think that, you know, this has been an unusual situation.
I feel bad for you. It's a bad situation. I'm with you. I used to be in the construction business. I had the people in Austin tell me what I could do on St. Edward's University campus, which trees I could cut, which I couldn't. So I'm with you on that. I understand. But
Jason, you can make the motion, but I'm telling you, I'm leaning towards letting this, if we get the city saying, Hill, if we get the city, and please work with us on this.
Well, yeah,
We're on camera.
the motion has to pass.
Get the city to just say, hey, we're satisfied with the structural integrity of the pool being where it's at on the tree. And the H&H store, I've gone through Samantha and Scott, I'm pretty satisfied with it not having any impact that I've seen in any data on the water. So if that's y'all's
If my motion passes, it passes. If it doesn't, we vote, right?
motion.
I motion to table the issue till the next meeting pending clarification from the city of Friendswood on question 3. Don't get too
A second.
overly specific.
Second. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, 4-1. We'll take it up next meeting.
Scott and I can facilitate a meeting with
Brian?
Brian, yeah.
Thank you both.
Yeah, I did request, buoyancy calculations, no different than when we, designed lift stations. That have hydrostatic concerns, because of their depth. And unfortunately, wasn't provided those calculations. So, I'm not sure if the city has those, no. Just to be clear. But we will discuss that with Brian.
All right, very good. Thank y'all. Sorry about the long discussion. B, approve or deny the final drainage plan or 250627 Georgetown, Section 1, the development process to construct a 15-acre, .31 lot, 4 reserve and 2 block subdivision. Detention rate for the approved drainage impact analysis is 1.09 acre feet. Detention is provided in the development's phase 1 detention pond. After reviewing, the district engineer finds that the proposed plans are consistent with the district's criteria. We have received our letter of no objection. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. C, approve or deny the final plan for security 101-204 West Heritage Drive. Proposed development in addition of 2,780 acre square feet addition with associated parking and detention pond. After review, our district engineer finds the plans meet the district criteria. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda. Approval of the July 8, 2025 bills, approval of the May 13, 2025 minutes, approval of the June 10, 2025 minutes. Call the motion for approval.
Motion.
All those in favor? Resolutions 2513. Consider and take action on a resolution authorizing applications for grant funding and commitment of matching funds for the Twin Creeks Preserve scope acquisition, scoping, and acquisition of design build projects. A, Texas Parks and Wildlife, local parks and non-urban outdoor recreation grant funding. We have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife North American Wetlands Conservation Act, the U.S. Standard Grant 2026 federal funds that have a 50% match, and the applications for the scoping and acquisitions on their part. And then we have finally C, the U.S. Economic Development Administration's 20-25% disaster supplemental grant, which is an 8% federal, 20% local. These are 3 separate applications: acquisition, scoping, acquisition, and design build. Note that the plan to use a combination of funding sources is to try to minimize the total local match and the district will owe. So by applying for all these, Samantha's trying to get the taxpayers to pay the least amount that we can possibly pay. There's a lot of stuff she has working. The plan to apply for foundation grants for lesser amounts to help support the local match. And we will provide grant administration services in-house as work is in process in kind. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Samantha, why don't you tell us a little bit about this quickly?
Sure. So we're looking at approximately 46 acres along Cowards Creek. I'm not going to go into it too much, but the primary goal is to acquire the land, but we're hoping that we'll acquire and at least get a scoping study together. But with the EDA grant, because it's an 80% federal, 20% local, the entire cost of the project, including acquisition, engineering design, and construction, is not significantly more than just looking at the acquisition, because you're limited to $5 million with the acquisition. So we're going to go ahead and do a wild card application for the project while we're at it. But we're going to continue to look for smaller grants to help reduce the local cost.
Any questions about this?
Side.
Go ahead, Mr. Gibson.
Is the land now in its natural state?
Yes.
Can you get to it? Does it have access? Or is it landlocked?
I don't know if I don't think there's an official access.
No official act.
Yeah, I think
It's accessible.
but part of when we're scoping, we would look at, so I don't want to go into detail because we really haven't done the planning yet, but potentially, we would have a parking facility, a park with trails, possibly wetland restoration, pollinator field, some type of outdoor amphitheater, outdoor classroom. But a lot of that will come either during engineering design or during a planning study.
Who's going to maintain this?
We would,
So that's an increased cost then.
yes.
What happened?
I mean, we've thrown around the idea a little bit about looking into setting up a nonprofit. And potentially that it would be something that they oversaw, but I don't think we're there yet, like figuring all that out.
We'll have to study it to figure out the best use for the property, and as that develops, we'll of course inform the
But
board.
if we do continue to acquire land and restore it and build parks, that's either, additional O&M costs that the district will have, or we could alternatively look at setting up some kind of nonprofit organization that would oversee those, and then they could charge funding for admission or funding for events to help with the maintenance costs.
Listen, I'm only interested in doing flood and drainage mitigation projects. I'm not interested in any type of amphitheaters or updated operation maintenance costs. So as long as I'm sitting here, I don't think, and I know we have grand plans, but unless we had federal funds or matching funds that made us do that and they were going to pay for it, I'm not gonna be advocating for any structural improvements for parks and recs. The city can do that. I'm in for water surface elevation and reducing flooding and drainage. So I'm all for the grant process, and this board gets to direct traffic like Congress on the money, Jim. So if you're worried about increased operation and maintenance other than mowing and us taking care of it to reduce the water surface elevation, that's possible. If you're thinking I'm gonna freaking advocate for some type of increased cost based on something that reduces water surface elevation, you'll never give me a vote for that. So I
No,
hope.
that was just a question.
No, I agree, but I'm with you on that's what I'm saying is I'm to do the job. If they make us do something in a spot to help the citizens out, then that's different.
I mean, native vegetation would require less mowing. So,
In your dream, what does this look like when it's finished?
well, I want it to be like what the board wants. I think most of these applications, we're looking at different ways to get funding towards acquisition and then a scoping grant, but just as a long shot, we're applying for the full project to see what happens. But my thought is that during a scoping project, we would do preliminary hydrology and hydraulics, preliminary geotech, look at a trail system, and then possibly, identify different uses for the properties.
It's fun.
But for all of these, I do think it's important to look at operations and maintenance costs. When I'm putting these grant applications together, I'll have to come up with what the cost is going to be.
Because if it's in its natural state now, and we're gonna keep it in natural state, we haven't lowered the water level at all.
Right. It would just be.
So it's got, the proposal would cost us $3 million to not reduce flooding.
Well, I disagree.
No,
Keeping large swaths of green space green in the long run will reduce flooding, because as land gets scarcer, then more development happens in the green spaces that we do have, and keeping areas green can reduce flooding by preventing impervious cover. And then to answer Rusty's question, there's actually a large amount of funding grants that help with capital acquisitions like this that revolve around bringing community purpose and to these green spaces. And so some of those are outdoor activities, such as trails and use of the creek for recreation. And so in order to further align our goals of flood mitigation, we also have to be creative in that. And so that's why some of these grants do have, parts of it that go a little outside of our typical just maintain and continue to mow the golf course, but do have components of how it can be a benefit to citizens outside of keeping it green or digging a hole.
the other thing, just because this isn't on this agenda, we're working right now on getting 3 quotes for an appraisal of the property. I know any of these grant plans would not be allowed to pursue property if it was above market appraisal value. So the pricing that is listed here for acquisition is based on what the property owner told us. But my guess is that it will end up being lower than that amount once we get the appraisal.
To counter Page's point, if it's developed, our criteria manual will ensure that it doesn't add to the flooding. And
This-
you want to rebuttal?
Sure.
Paige is running her CEO hat. You know, this is not general counsel page, but yet general counsel page. This is CEO.
My,
Please continue, CEO.
thank you. My philosophy is that there's gonna be more impervious cover added in not just our jurisdiction, but the jurisdictions that affect our jurisdiction. And the more impervious cover that comes in and the more water that goes down the creeks, the more it's important to find opportunities to keep green spaces green and to find creative ways to do our goal, which is to protect lives and to prevent property loss. And so in my opinion, that this is one of the few opportunities of this size of acreages in our jurisdiction that I think meets a lot of our long-term goals.
Hey, Jim, if I may, listen, us five on the board get to decide what happens. This is just pure, like you and I've always talked about for years. This is land acquisition. We can do whatever we want with, just like Deepwood or Clearview or Frenchman's Creek. We can do whatever we want with it. Study it, let 5E study it, let LAN study it. We can look at it's better to freaking shell, to bank, to impacts that we can spend endless countless amounts of money. This is not hemming us in to doing anything unless we get some park grant that says you must do that. And then the board gets to decide if we want to partake in that. But I lean towards acquiring land like you and I have always talked about and finding the best use to drop the water surface elevation in this area. If it's to drop the water surface elevation to a project, I'm down for it. If it's to leave it green and develop a spongeland concept, shelve something and do something with aquatic plants and make it absorb more water and serve as a natural flood barrier and plain for the people, I'm telling you, I'm down for it. I'll tell you right now, I'm down for what helps the people and reduces the water surface elevation. If you fly something by me through the parks, if you get a grant, I'm just going to tell the people, if you get a grant from the parks and the grant comes through and it's going to cost the district $3 million, it's not going to help the people and drop the water surface elevation, I'm out.
Yeah.
Ain't doing it. I'm not spending $1 of the district's money if it's not going to make a positive impact. So this is just very preliminary. We tried to get it. If it didn't match up with what we want to do, it's very simple. We don't do it.
Okay, but I have a question. We have these 4 grants. And what happens if we get one of them and we don't get the other 3?
We don't have to do anything.
By this resolution, we're committing to follow through.
No.
Well, that's what the word's saying.
You can read the resolution if you like.
There's ways out. It's not that we have to finish the project.
Okay, if we bail on that, then what kind of reputation does that leave us with for future projects?
Common sense reputation.
I don't play games.
That's what it leaves us.
I think when we're putting the applications together, we're going to indicate that we're applying to other grant programs and expecting that that's going to pay stuff. So if it doesn't line up, then it just doesn't line up, you know? I don't think it's gonna-
Concept sounds pretty nice.
But you know, what Jim's saying is, hey, let's listen, you don't have to talk to me. I believe me, we're about to talk about something coming up this week about getting out of something or changing something. It's not really our Harris County Flood Control's driving that discussion, but I don't think we should hem ourselves into anything. I want to make sure the language does not, we're going for a grant. And I'm gonna tell you something, the board might disagree with the staff on what's gonna occur. And the board gets to say, and I will tell you, if it doesn't help the citizens and reduce the water surface elevation and the money doesn't line up with the reduction, I'm not even for, I'm like Michael Shannon at Galveston County. If it's too much money for a little bitty impact, I'm not spending the public's money. I'm going to save the gunpowder for something later down the road that makes sense, like IDRT. I still believe in big projects and regional solutions and getting the county cohesive and driving the pressure down is the best way to do this. I don't want this to hem us in, Paige, to something that doesn't make sense for the public.
I agree.
Can I make a motion to approve with contingent upon language added? Was that satisfying? I mean, you know, moving forward the project contingent upon X amount of funds or acquiring enough in grant matching funds. Is that kind of?
I think the whole resolution might have to be looked at, Jason.
I think we're not even at the starting line of the race. Like this is a submission of applications for grants. So we're not even We're not even there yet, if that's your concern, but.
And this resolution is just to
Submit the
to
application.
submit the applications,
Yes,
the very basic part.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If we're awarded the grant, then the board will have to vote on whether to accept it or not.
Satisfied with that? I mean,
Yeah, I want to clear up one potential missing interpretation. I'm all for buying land.
I know you are.
If there was a way to buy the 40 acres, I'd jump on it right now.
I know you would.
Okay.
We always agreed on that.
But I don't see any use buying the land and leaving it like it is and claiming water reduction.
Right. Well, it would, if it's doing what it's doing right now anyway.
But I'll take you at your word. If it doesn't improve, we're not interested.
I'm on video. I can promise you, I'm not spending $1 of your money if it doesn't help. And even if it helps, Jim, at a low level and it costs a lot of money, I'm not going to want to do
I
it.
agree.
I mean, if it helps 4 inches and it costs $35 million, I'm out.
It's really specific.
Well, I'm just,
It's almost as if you're alluding to something.
Okay.
do I have a motion?
I'm finished.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Hey, man, I like the board I like it. I think you should press the issues and ask the questions and get to the detail. They'll love it on video, how it should be done. All right, number 10, discussion reports from staff members. Who wants to start? Ms. Bailey?
Sure, happily. Forest of Friendswood is our first staff item. The paperwork for that has been provided to our HOA liaison. They meet, my understanding, next week as to whether they're going to dedicate those reserves to us so that we can study and potentially plan projects in that area that would affect those reserves. The monthly field superintendent report. So I'm going to pass that to Randy, actually.
I can't talk without my presentation, without pictures. Wanted to show, obviously, first to start off, I want to show some of the mowing that our contractors and our workers are doing. This is actually the forest. This is their number one extension pond. This is just another view of it from the other side. This is Mary's Creek. This is close to 2351 Mary's Creek. This is also Mary's Creek. Even though unfortunately we don't have the right of way or an easement on the other side of the creek there, so I'm not able to plug that back. I happened to walk up when this happened. Our tractor was mowing just a little too close to the creek and got stuck. But ProScape was in the very close vicinity and was able to come down and save us and pull our tractor out. So it was only stuck for about 10 minutes. So we were able to get it back out and
That driver's
continue. He was wearing a seatbelt. Yeah.
Ocean.
Yeah, no, he when he got out of the door, he swung over the water to get around to the tire to get out. So this is Chickers Creek. This is another where our ProScapes have slope mowers in it to mow the bank all the way to the water. Looks very nice.
That looks good.
The majority of Chicker Creek looks like this after they've mowed. We have about 140 sites in the city that we have to maintain and mow. And we are, with the program that we're running right now, we're able to get through all those sites in 4.5 weeks. So we're at where we start over every 4.5 weeks. This is a detention pond at Melody Wood Estates. This is right off of Mary's Creek. This is Polly Ranch Park. This is another one that was mowed. The park. This is obviously on Clear Creek. This is a bank repairs that we're doing and sloping. We did a bank repair on the other side of Cheer Creek, and we own the property on the side that we're on here, and we've decided to slope it back to
to get more water, going through here. And this, the bank across the creek is the one that we just repaired, less than a month ago. And then
Go back that slide, Randy, the back one. Go back one. So if you look, guys, on the side of Eagle Lakes, they repaired that bank where the pointer is. That was where the failure was.
this whole bank fell off.
Into the creek. And then we had to access that around like the church behind HEB, and we'd come all the way around. And then we had to make a low water crossing. I think he showed it last time. We let the creek flow.
Right.
We repaired it by sitting in the creek and then put our key ditch and fix that bank. But now we have, what Randy's saying is we have laid back, DC has laid back the other side that we do own and where our easement exists to put less pressure on that vertical bank that goes all the way down Chicken there running towards 518. So that's good work there. That's what did they lay that 4-1 on this side, Randy? Is that-
Yes, it's 4-1, and we're still working on it. This is a project that's in, and we're going to see more pictures of the project that we're doing. This goes further down from where we were at there. They're laying it back here, up where the trucks are. We'll get closer to that. We're actually digging key ditches. We're putting riprap in there to support the bank. The bank has sloughed off there. With that riprap in there to keep the bank from falling back in. Then we'll put good clay right above that. All this area in front has already been filled with riprap, and then they'll cut another key ditch, fill it up, and put dirt on top of it. We're going to go all the way in front of those trucks is where we're going to stop. Where the trees, you can see the trees get to the edge. That's where we're going to stop this laying back up the.
And y'all can see as citizens this work, and you can see the bank where we're going, how vertical and how chopped up it is. Listen, I wish we had and this is why Samantha's here and why we're pushing so hard for regional solutions. And Jim and I talked about this for years. I wish we had a 50, 60, $70 million budget. We could go through on these creeks and we can lay it back and really help the flow of these tributaries and creeks feed into Clear Creek. And we can increase in volume too. We simply don't have a big enough budget in the consolidated drainage district. But like Paige said, we spend 83% of our money fixing areas and doing what we can on these creeks and tributaries. Of course, we don't get to do this on Clear Creek, but this is good work and this is good stuff. I wish we could just do it at a bigger and massive level. And that IDRT studies on Clear Creek, you could see something like this at a much bigger scale one day, hopefully in our lifetime, to really make a big reduction. So this is just a small model size example of what we're really after. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, and you can see how tall the bank is there. We're going to have almost a 4-to-1 slope from the water, from the edge all the way up. So will definitely be a total difference there. All that'll be laid back. It'll hold more water.
Well, we got to see this in action on 6/12.
Well, I'm getting it. This is filling up that key ditch that we just saw. This is what they do. They fill it up, they compact it in, and then put dirt on it and compact all that in. So here's the dozer pushing dirt over that key ditch. This is the rain, the 4.5 inches rain that we had. This is the exact same area. We had already laid back where we're looking across the way over here. You can also see that there's a huge tree in the middle of the creek from that rain and fallen over in the creek that we had to get out. But this had kept that water, I think, more in the banks here because it was already sloped a little bit. It's definitely going to help. This is looking back where the key ditch was being dug. From that, then that was just 4 inches of rain. This from that rainstorm, this is over off of Chigger Creek, closer to Clear Creek. Some trees that were down, the guys that went out and had to cut these trees up and remove them. This one here is a tree that's in Clear Creek. You can't really see it. You can kind of just see a bit of the brush So we really didn't know how big this tree was, but we knew obviously it went all the way across the creek. As us pulling it out, that's the machinery that we're using to help pull it out. We cut that up. This is how big the tree was. It had a root ball on the bottom of it. As soon as we cut that off, it just fell back in and set straight up in the middle of the creek.
I know Doug Dynasty was.
So, yeah. So that's how big it was. This is the actual root ball and the tree. And we had to actually have 2 pieces of machinery pull it out. It was so heavy. Sure. It had been soaking for a few days. And that's some of the work that we've done in the past month.
So Jason and I walked out there on June 12th. That's what he was alluding to. That flooding rain. Jason and I saw it in person when it wasn't finished out there, but it did make a good difference. And it was wet that day.
Those who wear the appropriate shoe wear were able to walk back.
I had good shoes on. Yeah. Some superintendent didn't have the right shoes over there.
It was raining.
Anyway, okay, budget meeting.
Yes, so we will be starting having budget meetings in August before a draft budget is proposed in September. That's one thing that I don't think was transparent enough in previous years, was how we spend taxpayer money and discussions about reallocations and what it actually costs to maintain the district and the work that we do. And so those meetings will be starting in August. The next item, well, actually part of that item as well, is that a big player in that will be Melissa Reback, our new district secretary and accounting specialist. She's got multiple math degrees, comes from a long bookkeeping experience where she managed the bookkeeping for multi-location franchises and helps clean up the books in general for a lot of entities. And so we're really excited to have her. And so she'll be playing a part of that for this organization. And I'm just really excited for everybody to get to know her. The last item on the list is the floodgate flyer issue 2, which should be in mailboxes. I believe you have a copy right there. The online version has more than double the content. And so the online version has exclusive content, and we'll be putting also videos to get into Q&As with the editorials that we're posting, and are just increasing our online presence to share what we're doing for the community, to get more feedback from them, so that we're here and we're listening. Anything else, Brandy? Melissa, Samantha? Melissa, you want to share a little bit about what you've done? This is your 3rd week here.
I'm pretty excited to be here. Like Paige said, I'm a mathematician, but with that being a mathematician, we like a certain level of chaos. So coming here and seeing the chaos, I was like, oh, this is not because like she said, I have been with a corporation of restaurants who had lots of multi-locations with tons and tons of bank accounts that constantly had to be reconciled. So my number one goal right now is to reconcile that QuickBooks account and get everything ready for us to start having not just budget reports, but also budget report and, hey, we are on budget. So thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And welcome back.
All right.
Thank you, Samantha. We're so excited to have you back. Do you have anything else?
Nothing. I'm just happy to be back.
Even after this meeting.
Oh, definitely.
District engineers report. Go ahead, Scott.
All right, barge and trailer. So I'm hearing that it's might be pushed back to late September, October. They still haven't gotten the grapple. You know, it's coming from overseas, and with the tariffs and everything, it's created some issues on obtaining it. So that's delaying them. So that's where I'm at. The trailer, it's going to take them just a few weeks to put together. They have all the material, but they don't want to put together and not be able to take it to the barge facility. So it's sitting there at the shop. And once they get clear direction, when the barge is going to be ready, they're going to put together and then haul it up there from Miami. So that's where we're at there. Had some correspondence with them today and yesterday regarding specifications on the height of the trailer where the barge is going to sit and how much water the barge is going to draft. Kind of get that loops into actually the D on the Frenchman Creek project. We've been let to do a barge launch there at Frenchman's Creek, and so we kind of started that on the surveying and obviously visiting with the manufacturers on the specifications for for what the barge is gonna take to actually get it in the water. So, Samantha is working on a memo to the county for bond money.
2 memos. But the county, there's $1.5 million from their bond program. And we met with the county, and it's between 2 projects that they're interested in supporting. One is a boat dock.
Yep.
It would be a public boat dock for the barge, and then for rescues close to the private. And then the other option would be master drainage plan for our entire jurisdiction.
So that's good news.
Yeah, I will say on the Frenchman's Creek stuff, so I will say a public boat dock back in the back of Potty Ranch is not gonna
Yeah, that's
Not,
fly.
the intent is for it to be for the district.
No, for
Services, yeah.
for public agencies only.
Right,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm unfortunately, they've had me talk in those HOA meetings and they're not interested in that, but what they are down for, and what the interlocal hill we want to square up with the city is the dock, the boat launch there is for the barge, is for maintenance and taking care of the creek during normal times. Of course, as the waters recede, because it will be way over that ramp, it's for debris pickup and cleaning the creek out quickly after storms. It's for the police. I talked to Josh, I talked to Stan for training, for them to be ready, because they can train on that creek and be ready to go when the waters do rise, to do all the training exercises, for them to have a place to launch. It's for the state, it's for the county, it's for the feds. So any money we can get to come to us for that, I don't feel like the taxpayers of the GCCDD should fund all that. However, if they do, I will let you know that is a substantially good project, not for just creek maintenance. And we spent $500,000 on a barge about a year or 2 years ago, and we only operated for about 3 months, and they had a bunch of breakdowns and stuff. This barge is going to be significantly like a Formula One car compared to the barge that we borrowed from Louisiana. It's going to be brand new. It's going to be like a Formula One car. Launching it right there in Friendswood. Right now we have this really Mickey Mouse operation where the police department's already switched how their boats are. The one at the end of it's by Aaron Worth's house, the back there on Clear Creek.
Clear Creek, yeah.
Yeah, Clear Creek Drive. It's a very poor access to the creek. So it is hazardous. We're looking at something that the city can be proud of and use, that we can use, and that the fire, the state, and the federal officials can use during normal times. Of course, during floods, like I said, it will be flooded. However, they can be training the whole year round when it's quiet for that event. So that will be an access, a piece that will be an asset for all of us here. So anyway, go ahead, Jim.
Samantha, part of that bond issue was desnagging Dickinson Bow.
Yeah, that money was not for our jurisdiction.
I know it, but we're gonna have a barge, and they're gonna need barge. So maybe we could put in some sort of, hey, we got a barge for rent.
Jim wants to leverage them.
We can.
We're the head of their watershed, anything.
The timing work out. We'll check with them and see what their plans are. It may work out.
Well,
Yeah.
that's part of the original concept.
Yeah, I know we're really interested in sharing resources, not just the barge, but like the different range districts in Galveston County are working on putting those equipment together and figuring how we can safely and legally transfer equipment.
So if you'd fill that out, I appreciate it.
Okay.
All righty, City of Friends reports. Mr. Hill?
Yeah, I just wanted to start out by thanking Samantha, Randy, and Scott for their assistance. We've had a resident here in town where we've been trying to work with them to get a easement for a water line. And for some reason or another, there's been some sort of connection made by the resident that at the same time there needs to be some drainage work done. The 3 staff members here at GCCDD have been very generous in offering their time to carry them out. And just wanted to share my appreciation for that. Doesn't sound like it's something that necessarily needs to be in the cards right away, but the important thing is they were willing to listen to the resident and hear them out. Wanted to share on our master drainage plan. We are fixing to release some dates on some public feedback. I don't have those dates yet. I should have that information tomorrow. And we'll be soliciting some feedback. We've had a couple of meetings between the city and the consultant. And I think we are probably going to need to get some information from the drainage district here before not too long as well. So we'll follow up on that. On the development side, Brentwood Trails, sections 3A, 4A, 4B, and 5A, they are pretty well close to being substantially complete. Here within the next couple of months, we'll be taking that to the city council for acceptance of the infrastructure construction. And after that, they'll be able to start building houses.
Hey, I want to say, Hill, to you that, and to you, Randy, I appreciate, and I wish more were here. I appreciate the collaboration and the city workers and the city, our workers, Shannon and Merle and Robert and Tyrell and everybody, and Daryl working together to help the citizens and not getting into all this. I like y'all working together to serve the citizens, despite the politics going on in the city. When it comes to politics, I've had coffee with Trish Shanks. I've had coffee with Judge Ellisor. I've had plenty of conversations with Michael Ross. I'm sure I can know that. And I've spent countless hours with Robert Griffon at lunch and all over the place. So that's 4 of 7 city council people. And I will say this, I don't care if the district thinks that it's the greatest project in the world and it passes muster. I want the camera to record this. If the city has a problem with something, we are going to tell the people to hold up and make sure the city is good with anything going on in this area, because there's dual jurisdiction here. And we realize the city is our partner and we need to work together with the city on everything and be on the same page. And I would really appreciate if we really close ranks and gave a consistent message to our citizens, our developers, on how we go about things. Because like I said in my opening remark, it's about safety of human life first. It's about preventing financial devastation next. And I know we won't always agree, but I think it's good to talk and have great relations and at least give a consistent message to the people that are coming before us. We recognize we're just half the equation. So I want to acknowledge that. But I want to say thank you for y'all continuing at a lower level without the politics involved. I think y'all are the ones searching the rivers and serving the community. And a lot of times it's better when politics is out of that because it's about service. So thank y'all for your staff in doing that. Until all agree, I said the same thing. Okay, thank y'all. The board of directors is going to go to executive session and conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice from the attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, or any manner in which the duty of the attorney to the district under the Texas disciplinary rules, professional contact, the state bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the state open meetings act for Texas government code 551.071, legal issues concerning any item on today's posted agenda. Texas government code 552.072, deliberations about the purchase, extension, release, and lease of real property. We also could discuss current litigation matters. We will reconvene in open session. Thank you. The time right now is 7:52 p.m.
I keep 5 hours. It feels like.
How'd you fight that weather coming in here today?
Oh, I think it's we went way around off the coast and around, all around.
All right, camera's on.
Yeah, over here, at 8:51 PM. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
So you
Get some rest.
y'all feel way around it?